All right. Thank you for joining us this evening. When you join Rotary, you have the opportunity to connect with others who share similar ideals to do good in the world. So we now have 1.4 million people that are in Rotary worldwide. And there's so much potential among those 1.4 million Rotarians to support your local community or become involved in global humanitarian projects. The more you become involved in Rotary, the more you discover. And we sometimes refer to this as peeling away the layers of the onion. And the idea is that there's a little bit of background noise somewhere. Somebody has something, a radio going on in the background, maybe.
It's Anita.
Okay. Okay, good. I think we took care of that. Thank you so much. Okay, so with 1.4 million fellow Rotarians, we have so much potential to support each other and achieve our local and global goals for humanitarian service. The more you become involved in Rotary, the more you discover. And it's difficult to explain or share the breadth of the Rotary opportunities that you have before you. I'm hoping we can scrape the surface tonight and share some of the things that have been important to us, to the people that are just now discovering what Rotary has to offer them. And Rotary also has a way of bringing the generations together in service to the community and enrichment for the people who serve. So at the local level, you have the opportunity to connect with your club. You can connect with other professionals who also are motivated to make a difference. You spend time together at meetings, social gatherings, or on a service project, and that can help you form lifelong friendships. Not only will you change lives, but you'll also grow as a person and develop new skills. And I'd like to ask everyone on the call tonight, what kinds of connections have you made at your clubs? Sean, I'm going to ask you, what kinds of connections have you made at your club?
Community connections, just with other members, people in the community that I didn't know, and have made friendships and excuse me, and connections with organizations who look to us for help or funding and those kind of connections. And like you said, across generations. So there's some, little ones, and then there's bigger ones.
Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing.
And we're a small community too, so it's been eye-opening.
Right. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else want to share some of the connections they've made in their Rotary Club?
I can do a little bit if you like.
Yes, please.
I was able to connect with the Friends of the Pend Oreille Bay Trail, which is quite a group. I've been able to connect with the city of Pend Oreille, and I've been able to connect with probably a group of about 10 volunteers who are going to work with Rotary to keep the Bay Trail clean.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you. That's an excellent example. And I'll just share that I'm new to my community, and I've been able to make all kinds of friends I wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity to meet, at least not so quickly. And it's just been a wonderful way to embrace my new community and to find the people that are doing things and taking action in the community. Okay, these are just some of the ways that you can get involved at the club level. You can share your ideas with other club leaders and get involved in projects. You can find a mentor. You can organize a club event. I'll just share that in our club, we had one of our second newest member joined the club, and he had a great idea for a fundraiser. And since we're a new club, we had tried a couple of other things and we were getting a little frustrated. We didn't make any money on three other fundraising projects. And then we had a new member come in and he had a great idea for an Oktoberfest. And we organized the whole thing in 3 weeks and we made $5,000. So you don't have to be a tenured member to have an impact on your club. The best thing about new members is you bring new ideas, and clubs will listen to your ideas, and you have the opportunity to make an impact at the club level. You can try a new role. The way that I learned about Rotary over time, and it's been 26 wonderful years so far, is people sort of kept asking me to do things. And I would usually say yes, and I would discover something that I enjoyed and a whole different facet of Rotary. And you can become a leader and develop additional leadership skills. And that could lead to becoming a leader in your community as well. What are some of the things that interest you? Now, many of you are new to Rotary or considering joining a Rotary club. I see that Bert has mentioned like-minded individuals in the chat. That's important to many of us, that we get to associate with people that have similar ideals and want to do some of the same things in our community. What are some of the things that drew you to Rotary?
Hi, it's Sharon. I
Yes.
was attracted to Rotary because I'd seen the work that they'd done when I lived in Swaziland when I was a kid, and just the sense of community it had created. And then when I came to Fernie, I was new to Canada and new to the community, and I just wanted to find a sense of belonging and a place where I could actually give back to the community that had welcomed me in. And that's what I found having joined it. And we get together, we organize things, and we're really making a difference. And I like that sense of belonging.
That's great. You speak to my heart. That's what attracts me to Rotary too. Does anyone else want to share?
What attracted me was the whole others before self. It takes me all the way back to my Cub Scout and Boy Scout days when we had a similar motto.
Right.
And it's the whole idea of being there for others and putting them even sometimes in front of your needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get the most back when we do that, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else?
I can say that, well, like Doreen, I've been in Rotary for quite a few years. When I originally started in 94, 95, I was really I had young kids. I was interested in providing opportunities for youth locally and internationally. And I thought Rotary provided that. And I got involved with Interact, and that's been my passion the whole time. And I think Interact has made a huge difference, and I've got to do something. Rotary gave me a path or a facility where I could actually make a difference because it already had all the connections and the infrastructure there.
Okay, Jeff. And can you share a little bit with the group about what Interact is?
Sure. Interact is basically Rotarians that are between 12 and 17, I guess. And they follow the same principles as Rotarians, and it's typically through the high school. Doesn't have to be, but so if you can get them early enough, you'll get 4 or 5 years with them to develop. And what our Interact Club has done, we've done 9 international trips since 2003, and so we spent 2 years building a group and raising funds, and then pick the best of them and they know we're going to pick the best of them to go on a trip. And we've had anywhere from 11 to 21 going on trips.
Okay. And I seem to recall an occasion when you took several young students to Honduras to build a playground at an orphanage. And the kids had to pack enough clothes for a week or two in a backpack so that they could take clothes for the children in their suitcases. Is my recollection correct?
Yeah, for all of the trips, the deal is that we go for about 3 weeks, 21 to 22 days, and they can only take what they can put in their carry-on luggage, and nothing more than that. We bring it depends on the airline's rules, but it was typically 2 suitcases that could be packed to 50 pounds each. But each of those suitcases wasn't for them personally. It was for clothing or supplies or sports things that we were taking to leave behind and typically it's an orphanage. We try and find a project that deals with their peers, kids that are their age or younger.
Okay, great. Well, you have a great Interact Club, and I just want to ask you one other question. What was the impact that your relationship to Rotary had on your children growing up?
So I had 3 daughters, all of them involved in Interact. My oldest didn't go on a trip, but my 2 younger ones went on trips. And I think the impact for them, as it was for all of them, locally when they were raising funds, they learned how to organize events because we tried to spread it amongst them, how to lead events, how to act around adults, because typically a lot of the fundraisers were with adult events. And that then when we went on these trips, and this is what made the biggest impact for me, is the youth that we would take on these trips would mature 2 or 3 years in 3 weeks, because they would come back with their eyes open, how lucky they are, and that. So and it was the same for my kids. They appreciated so much what they had in their own country after seeing orphans in these countries.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that it's important to know that Rotary can have this kind of impact on your entire family. And thank you for sharing those stories. Does anyone else want to share anything that interests them or any experiences that the group could benefit from before we go to the next slide?
It was just coming together with a group of people where you could multiply your efforts, whether it was your labor or interests, or whether it was your money. It was a way to I guess gain a lot of interest on whatever your investment happened to be, whether it was time or money.
Okay, and Ozzy, can you share an example of that?
We have, well, certainly the Rotary Foundation is, when you look into the Rotary Foundation, it's just a good, solid organization to put money into. You know that it's well spent. You know that it's well managed, and it's one of the largest foundations in the world. So it's just well run. So you feel really good about giving donations to there. And the other is with people. You end up with many of the Rotarians have either were or have become among my best friends because of work that we've done in Rotary, and because of the like interests that we have in service to others and to the community.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'll mention, for the benefit of some of the newer people on the session tonight, that the Rotary Foundation is one of a very few organizations in the world that has received a perfect score from the charity, the organization that evaluates charities, Charity Navigator. And we are 14 years in the running with a 4-star rating, but even beyond that 4-star rating, we have a 100% rating in all the categories that they measure. And the funds from the Rotary Foundation help us to leverage our money so we can turn a few $1,000s into $80,000 to do a service project. So thank you for sharing that, Ozzy.
Okay, I'd like to also introduce, I have Gretchen Cohen with me, and she's a prospective new member for the club here in Colville. And so she just is, her name isn't on the screen because she came to our house to watch it tonight, so.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it's nice to meet you, Gretchen.
You too.
All right, thank you. And Ozzy, thank you for inviting her.
Happy to do that.
Great. Okay, so beyond the club, we can connect with the community. And I want to
Diane,
ask
on
you.
that note, also.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. No, that's
No.
okay. We'll let you go ahead.
No. This is meant to be interactive, so please jump in.
All right. I just want to put in a plug for assembly and for zones. I had the most amazing experience when I went to zones when it was in Denver. It was entitled Rocky Mountain Why. And it was exactly that. It was why, it covered everything about why do we want to be part of Rotary and be a Rotarian. And the speakers were just amazing. The fellowship, the energy about Rotary on all different levels, the projects that were identified that people are seeking assistance for, that are successfully running, was just amazing. And I would really put in a plug for any new members or old members who haven't had the opportunity, or who have. Anyone should go to zones and to assembly, where we really learn about Rotary. There are classes about positions if you want to join leadership in the clubs or higher. And so I just want to put in a plug for that, and what really kind of excites me and got me going a little more. So
I have to share your enthusiasm for that. And thank you so much for bringing that up. I felt that I got involved on a whole different level, and it just discovered so many other beneficial aspects about Rotary when I attended assembly for the first time. And I'll say, when you're a new Rotarian, it can be a little intimidating to attend an assembly or a conference, only because you don't know what it is. And I'm doubly grateful that you brought that up, because when you just get an email and it says, oh, there's an assembly in Coeur d'Alene or in Spokane or in Nelson or wherever it is, and you're thinking, well, I don't know what an assembly is, and I'm not sure how I fit in. Just let me reassure you, it is a wonderful opportunity to make new friends and to learn things about Rotary that you didn't know before, and to just be inspired by what others are doing. So we do have an assembly on November 5th, and it's not too late. If you want to register tonight, you can do that. If anybody has trouble, you can let me know, and I'm happy to be your helper. So thank you for mentioning that. So these are some of the different ways. Oh, yes, please.
I have a
Jump
question.
in.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what is assembly?
Sure. So assembly, usually there are two assemblies during the year. We have spring assembly that is geared to training incoming leaders for clubs and for the district. So if you're going to become a club secretary or a club treasurer or community service chair, or you have any club leadership role, there are sessions to teach you the fundamentals of the role, what your responsibilities are to the club and to Rotary International in the different capacities. It's also a time to learn about how to apply for a grant, who's doing community service projects locally and globally, so you can make those connections. And they're typically one-day sessions. The fall assembly in our district, in some years is focused almost exclusively on the foundation. In other years, they include brand, which we used to call public image, and membership. So those three form the essentials of Rotary. Membership are the people, foundation is the money, and brand is how we appeal to the community to bring in people to Rotary and also to support our fundraising efforts. So we need all three parts. It's like a three-legged stool, really, the essentials of Rotary. So the assembly this year will be held in Spokane Valley on Saturday, November 5th. It's from 10 to 2:30, so it's a short day. And it will primarily focus on the foundation. And that's fine because the foundation is pretty much fundamental to everything that we do. The projects we do with the foundation support our brand and communicate what we do to the public. And people hear about the projects that are funded by the foundation, and that attracts them to Rotary or keeps them engaged in Rotary. So that's what an assembly is. And then the district conference also offers training opportunities, but it's primarily a celebration of the year past and an acknowledgement of the leaders that will be serving in the coming year, and a time to have fun and make friends and learn some new things about Rotary. It's a time to be inspired as well. I believe this year our district conference is going to be shared with another district. It'll be held in our district, and they're going to combine the spring assembly with the district conference. So it won't be a separate event. It'll be, the spring assembly will be on the Sunday following the district conference. Thank you for asking that question. Does anybody else have any questions about those events? Okay. All right, so I'm just going to check the chat in case we have any questions there. Okay, so the next assembly is being held in the Spokane Valley at the Tech Center. I believe that's adjacent to or included with Dishman Hills High School, for those of you who are familiar with the Valley. Terry, I can send you an email with the exact location. And Bert wants to know how to find other clubs while traveling. So the way to find other clubs is to go to Rotary.org, and you do need to create what they call a My Rotary account. The way you do that is pretty simple. There's a place to log in, and what I can send following this session is a document called How to Create a My Rotary account, and it walks you through it. And once you do that, you just enter the email address that was used when you joined the club, and you create a password, and that gives you access to member-only information. And then there's a little search button in the upper right-hand corner. It looks like a looking glass, and you can search for content or you can search for clubs. And that's how you can find clubs in different areas around the world. And when you are Rotarian and you attend a club meeting in another locale, they really roll out the red carpet for you. So I encourage you to do that. It's a great experience to be a visiting Rotarian at another club. If your club has a club banner, you can take that with you when you're traveling. And it's a way to present, you know, kind of a friendly exchange between your club and the club you're visiting, to trade club banners and bring that club's banner back to your club. That's a long time Rotary tradition. Okay. Lots of good questions in the chat. Incidentally, you don't have to be a Rotarian to create a My Rotary account. A non-Rotarian doesn't have the same access, but quite often husbands and wives will be both contributing to the Rotary Foundation, and having access to My Rotary lets the non-Rotarian donor see their level of giving and have access to other information as well. Okay. And Case just joined us. Welcome, Case.
Hi there, I'm having supper. Totally forgot about the meeting.
Quite all right. I hope you're having something good. So we're about halfway through. We're talking about all the different ways you can connect with your community. And what I want to ask the group is, well, first I'll mention, just to summarize, that some of the ways that Rotary lets you connect with your community are with community assessment tools. Rotary also has a project life cycle kit that you can use to plan and fulfill and close a project. There's a Rotary showcase where you can see examples of activities and projects that other clubs are doing in your local community and around the world, and also share your success stories with your projects. And then if you need to raise money for a Rotary project, there's a crowdfunding application within the Rotary site called Raise for Rotary. And you can use that to raise money for a local or international project. It doesn't have to be one that's funded by a grant. It can be any activity that your club is involved in. What are some of the things that interest you when you see this list? Okay, so Terry writes in the chat that he's interested in learning more about how to apply for grants. So there's a couple of different ways. Well, there's more than a couple different ways. One way would be to attend the assembly on November 5th, and there's a session called Grants Qualification Training. And besides helping to qualify your club to apply for a Rotary Foundation funded grant, you're going to learn all about grants. So that's one way. The Rotary Learning Center is another way. So as soon as you've created your My Rotary account, you have access to the Learning Center. And there are many different topics that you can choose from. Some of them are 5-minute sessions. Some of them are 15-minute sessions. Some of them are grouped together so that you have 10, 15-minute sessions that you can do on your schedule. And another way is to come to any of the district or local gatherings where Rotarians are sharing what they're doing with their projects. We in fact have a project fair session scheduled as one of the last sessions from, let's see, it ends at 2:30. It starts at 1:40. So you can come to the project fair and learn about applying for grants there too. So lots of opportunities. And Terry, if you want to chat offline, I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Bert mentions she wants to be involved in building a stronger and healthier community. And that's exactly what attracts so many of us to Rotary initially, is that desire to build a stronger community and to give back. So does anybody else want to share anything that's important to them before we move on?
I can tell you one little one.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting to me. I don't know if it will be to you guys, but it actually only touches like one person or a couple or one family at a time. But you talk about having a need. What we do is we have people around the community and we advertise that if anyone has a fallen tree or dead trees or whatever, and they want it removed, we go do it for free. And then we have a splitter. So we split it all up and we stack it all in cords of wood. And then we publish a number for people that are down and out. Maybe they lost their job. They don't have any money. They don't have the means by which to buy firewood. And perhaps they need it not only for heat, but to cook. Because some people in North Idaho still have wood burning stoves. And they call that number. We don't ask any questions. We pack up a cord of wood or two if they need to. We take it wherever they want it. We deliver it. We stack it up. And they might say thanks. That's it. We don't charge anything for it. And not only are we helping, but we're actually saving them one family at a time because they wouldn't have firewood otherwise.
Well, that's a great project, and it's something you can do to give back to the community that doesn't require any particular funding source other than what it costs you for gas. And I assume people have their own chainsaws and things like that. So
Yeah, it works
Yeah.
out great for everybody.
that's really nice. Okay, so Rod shared club visits within the district and outside of the district is one of the most underused opportunity. That's absolutely right. And I just want to reinforce that as a Rotarian, you have a ticket to attend any club in any country, any part of the world. And that is such a wonderful opportunity to meet with others and to be welcomed and to make new friends. So, you know, all the clubs do things a little differently. They all have projects that are just fascinating and that we can learn from. And Terry wants to know, is there a calendar of Rotary events? There is. I mentioned earlier My Rotary, and My Rotary is your access to information and learning opportunities at the Rotary International website, rotary.org. But locally, our district's website presence is something called DACDB. That stands for District and Club Database. And you can create a sign-in for DACDB, and that's where the district calendar is. So once you get into DACDB, you just click on district and then on calendar, and you can see all of the different events, and often clubs will publish the events that they're doing. Case, you're pretty good with DACDB. Do you want to augment what I've said about DACDB? How to leverage that resource?
Just let me, I'm still eating supper. Yeah, every Rotarian in the district does have access. There are 9 clubs in the district that have not switched over to DACDB. They're still on Club Runner or on something else. But if your club is a DACDB club, talk to your president about getting to helping you get onto DACDB. That's the easiest way. You'll need a username, which is usually your email address, and then a password, which you can reset if you've forgotten it. But yeah, that's usually the easiest way, or talk to your secretary to see about getting on.
Okay. And besides the calendar of events, what other resources do we have available to us on DACDB?
Well, through DACDB, you can access your website if you're a DACDB club and you have the website module. Sorry, you caught me off guard, Doreen.
I'm sorry. Well, I can jump in with a few things
Why
because
don't you
I've explored it too.
People can update their own data. You can do if you're at an executive level within the club, you can email all your club members, which is emailing through DACDB. Now you really need to just go in and check your own club database information. There are maps available if you want to find out where Joe in your club lives. You can find that out. There would be stories that can be posted on bulletins. Yeah, it's just a matter of getting in there, starting your journey on DACDB, and just looking around. But make sure that your club is a DACDB club.
Okay. And you can, if you're a club leader, you can archive financial reports, board meeting minutes. If you're a member, you can access all of those files. If you're a district leader, you can access district documents. You can apply for district grants online at DACDB. So there are a lot of activities that supports. Okay. So this one slide, I think, really it encapsulates all of the many aspects of Rotary that you can participate in. Jeff mentioned Interact, which is Rotary for the high school age individual. There's also something called Rotaract, that is Rotary for individuals aged 18 to 30 that may be still in university or just beginning to establish their careers. There's Rotary Youth Exchange, which is the premier international student exchange program in the world. And many Rotary exchange students go to other countries, learn another language fluently, form friendships. If you want to see how to create world peace, then I invite you to attend the district conference and see these youth exchange students saying goodbye to each other after a year together. And they're from all different countries, from all different cultures, observing all different kinds of religions. And I think all we would need to do to achieve world peace would be to have everyone be a youth exchange student for a year. And I'm not kidding about that. You really have to see it to appreciate it. It'll make you cry when you have the opportunity to meet some of those wonderful kids and see what they have learned and experienced in that year. There's something called Rotary Community Corps, and that is where people in the community that may not be Rotarians can join and partner with Rotary clubs to do service projects. You can collaborate with other clubs. Together, we can achieve so much more than we can as an individual club or as an individual person. And we've already mentioned the training events. In addition to what we have available to us locally at the district level, there's something called a zone, and that's a combination of districts. And if you have the opportunity to go to a zone institute, that is like a district conference on steroids. You'll meet speakers that you wouldn't otherwise have access to at the local level. And that's very inspirational. And then to me, the ultimate experience, I've been fortunate to attend just two, is the International Convention. And that's where Rotarians from all around the world gather, typically in May or June, thousands of Rotarians. I attended one in Toronto and I attended one in Salt Lake City, and next year it's in Melbourne in Australia. So wonderful opportunity to meet other Rotarians and be inspired about what Rotary is doing in the world. Does anybody want to comment on any of those aspects of Rotary? Any questions or any experiences you might want to share? Case.
Just two other things, two that I've participated in. One is the Rotary Friendship Exchange.
Oh, yes.
Have you talked about that?
I haven't. Thank you for mentioning that.
So this is where our district does an exchange program with another district. And so a group of Rotarians would go, let's say, to Australia or even in North America, can go to Argentina, whatever it might be, wherever we have an agreement with. And so if we go down there, then a group of Rotarians from that district come back here. We give them the grand tour, they give us the grand tour. Basically, all you pay for is your transportation. Sorry, my wife is printing something and behind me. Pay for transportation and of course your passports and medical inoculations that you might need. I traveled to Pakistan and the second friendship exchange to that country, and it basically changed my life. You can see behind me the Indus Peace Park logo. This is a project that came out of that friendship exchange, where we're trying to create an international peace park on the border of India and Pakistan. It's a long story. If your club would like me to talk about it, I would be more than willing to do a presentation along with a few others from the Indus Peace Park Society. The second thing, and which also changed our life, because both my wife and I participated on it, is that we went on a medical trip with Dr. Jim Guzek from Kennewick down in the Tri-Cities. He's an ophthalmologist. And so we went with him to a place called Dembidolo in Ethiopia. And my wife and daughter were in the operating theater helping out. I was relegated to cleaning and sterilizing instruments that were used. But we were there for 2 weeks, again, changed our lives. So those kind of opportunities are really cool. And also, you've talked about it before, the opportunity to visit other clubs. You will be welcome. My first club outside of my own was actually in the Netherlands. And I ended up, because I'm Dutch, I ended up giving a little program in Dutch, in the Dutch language. And it went really well because the first half hour of their meeting is drinks. So that was really neat. But I visited, as a district governor, I visited all 57 clubs in our district, and it is a highlight. And just for all of your information, the Rotary Club of Nakusp, which is my club in Northwestern District 5080, we meet Tuesday evenings. We have a dinner meeting. So, but we meet once every 2 weeks. So you probably have to contact us to make sure that the Tuesday that you come up will be our meeting day. Now, I'm not sure, Doreen, if you've talked about the Rotary Club Locator.
I mentioned that if you have a My Rotary account, you can do a search for a club, but there's an app. So why don't you share how to do it with the app?
Oh, there is an app. It's called Rotary Club Locator. And I actually used it today because I wanted to see where somebody that sent me an email, which district he was in. But he mentioned that he was the president of the Haney Club just outside of Vancouver. So I typed in Haney, did a search, and there all the information about the club was there. And it's a good way if you're traveling on holiday, business trip, and you're in a community, just use the club locator to find out if there's a club. You may end up getting a free meal.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Case.
Thanks.
And I do want to add, when I was a younger Rotarian and not retired and couldn't leave my job for 2 or 3 weeks to go on a friendship exchange, I used to host friendship exchanges. So there's an opportunity for everybody to benefit. And I've hosted individuals from India, from Nicaragua, from Peru, and from Australia. And it was just a wonderful experience. When you do that, you get to experience, when you're traveling, for example, and you do a friendship exchange, you get to experience another culture from the perspective of the locals and not as a tourist. And that's invaluable. So if you can't go on exchange, you can always host an exchange in your own community.
And we also, great opportunity in Rotary is, and you mentioned it already, one of the best programs is the Rotary Youth Exchange. And we've hosted students from Poland, Belgium, Thailand, Japan, yeah, all over. And it's such a neat program.
It certainly is. And my daughters were high school age when we hosted youth exchange students from Costa Rica, South Africa, Bolivia, and Australia. And it had a tremendous impact on them too. So Erica has to leave early. Erica, thank you for joining us. You'll get the recording so you can see the rest of the session on that. And of course, we've already alluded to the fact that we're connecting with the Rotary world. This is a picture depicting probably a National Immunization Day where Rotarians and other volunteers immunize children to protect them from getting polio. This is a global effort that Rotary launched in the 1970s when there were millions of cases of polio every year. And in this year, we have just 22 cases of polio. So we're very close to eradicating polio. And one of the most, I guess, inspirational or heartwarming activities you can engage in if you get the opportunity is to participate in a National Immunization Day and put those 2 precious drops of polio vaccine, share that with a child and protect them from a disabling disease. I think we've covered a lot of this other material. You can participate in international projects. You can help eradicate polio. If you can't participate in a National Immunization Day, you can make a donation to the polio fund and help in that way. And beyond just eradicating polio, the infrastructure that Rotary and its volunteers have created, its partners in this effort have created to eradicate polio is being used in disease monitoring and response across the world. So when COVID broke out, the same techniques that are used to measure the presence of the polio virus in wastewater is used to track COVID as well. And I think we've mentioned some of these other opportunities that you can do to expand your participation in Rotary. Terry shares that he's involved with a climate action group here in Nelson and was interested to find out that Rotary has a green team. Absolutely, the green team is active in supporting the environment, which is one of the areas of focus for the projects that are funded by the Rotary Foundation. I will also add 2 other opportunities for fellowship and for sharing your vocational talents with others are, one is called Rotary Fellowships, and Rotary Fellowships are more like, not so much networking groups, but more fellowship groups for people that share common interests like hobbies. It could be something like, golf or computers or stamp collecting or wine tasting or scotch or aviation, recreational travel, international hosting and friendship. If you can think of a hobby or a special interest, there's a Rotary Fellowship most likely to put you in touch with other people around the country, around the world that share your interest. And usually at international conventions, the fellowships will get together and host activities. There's also something called a Rotary Action Group. And these are groups of people that share expertise in perhaps water, hygiene and sanitation, or disease prevention and treatment, or education, or the environment. Things that you might, the types of skills that you might need to carry out an international or local community service project. There's so many different ways that you can meet the individuals that you want to meet, to have resources and to form lifelong friendships and to learn something. So how will you get involved? I'd like to hear some of your thoughts. Now, you've just had a glimpse into the Rotary world. This is just the first layer of the onion, trust me. But I would love to hear some of your impressions. And in the last 5 minutes, I do just want to show you one last slide. It's a different document on the ideals of Rotary. But first, what are some of your thoughts? And Rebecca comments that she loves the list. Where can we find this list on My Rotary or DACDB? I'm sure it's there. I got this resource from My Rotary. I will share this in the follow-up communications. And then I encourage you to just play around with My Rotary. There's so much information there, and I can certainly direct you if you would like me to. What are some of your other impressions tonight?
Well, Doreen, I have a question here.
Okay,
Am I the only one from Spokane on this tonight?
I don't know. Anybody else from Spokane?
I don't think there is. And so a comment,
Okay.
starting out my Rotary career in Canada, I find that the Canadians have a more enthusiastic and engaging group of people in clubs. And I'm not sure how we can capture that and transmit it to some of the US clubs.
Well, that's an interesting thing. You know, I think we have more clubs in the US part of our district than we do in Canada. And like you, I kind of did it in reverse. I started my Rotary career in Spokane, and now I'm in Canada. So my impression is that even though there are fewer clubs in Canada, Canada certainly does at least half of the Rotary work in our district. So maybe it's the smaller towns and people feel more connected. I'm not really sure what the difference is. What are some of your thoughts? You know, I've been experienced Rotary from both sides of the border. What are your thoughts about that? Anybody have a theory?
This is Jeff. Being on the Canadian side, I don't find that at all. I think Rotarians are Rotarians and they're amazing. And when I go to a Rotarian club or event on the US side or Canadian side, I find they're just it's just a great place to be. Positive people. I think what happens is when you're in your clubs, you get down into the nitty gritty, and then it's a different perspective of it. But yeah, so I think maybe that's what it is. You're seeing more of the nitty gritty that, you know, all families have their laundry.
Oh, well, I didn't necessarily mean it in a negative way, but thank you for the positive take on that. I really appreciate it. And now, Rod, I will mention that we have lots of Rotarians from the Tri-Cities tonight and lots of Rotarians from North Idaho. So the US is well represented, but I don't know, maybe my email didn't reach people in Spokane. So
I know, it just seemed like there should have been greater involvement.
yeah, I know what you mean. So anybody else?
Well, there is a Thursday night football game on tonight, and that could explain a few things.
I think that could be it. Well, Bill says
So-
we just need
Like
to
to hear
send
Pete.
more maple syrup. Go ahead, Rod.
No, I think Keys wants to say something, like to hear what it is.
Okay, well, Rod, for lesson number one is my name is pronounced Case.
Case.
It's a Dutch name. I have a problem with everybody on that. But anyway, I think one of the best ways to re-energize a club is to go to other clubs and just visit them and find out what they're doing and bring new ideas back into your own club. We ended up doing a wine fest because we stole the idea from Castlegar. We did a 50-50 draw in a certain way because we stole it from another club. One of the things that I have advocated numerous times is for a club to get a group of members, maybe fill up 1 or 2 cars and just flash mob another club. Just go as a group and just say, we're here, and just participate in that other club, find out what they're all about, and begin to develop or begin to strengthen any kind of relationships that you have with that other club. And pick one that you don't know. Like you could, if you're down in Spokane and you're in Spokane 21, come on up to Nakusp. And
That's
then
a
there's
great
silence.
idea.
Then there's silence.
No, I love that idea. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, I'm very quickly, because I always like to end on time. So before the clock strikes 7:01, I'm going to share my screen one more time. and just show you some of the guiding principles of Rotary. I'll send this as an attachment in my follow-up because I don't have time to go through it all, but the object of Rotary is basically how we use our vocations in service to each other and how acquaintance is an opportunity for service. Avenues of service is how we do our work. The four-way test is our ethical guide, and the Rotary Code of Conduct just reinforces that ethical guide. So I'll certainly include that. Do you have any other questions before we say goodnight? Okay, well, I hope that this was beneficial to you. It
Doreen, I have a
certainly was
question.
to me. Oh, yes. Please go ahead.
Just briefly, one of the things that I experienced at one of the assemblies was being introduced to our core values. And I didn't see that on your list, but I think the 5 core values of service and fellowship, integrity, diversity, and leadership are very important, and I think they reflect a lot in what we do.
Okay, thank you for mentioning that. It's impossible to present all of the information, so I think that that's really important, and I'll include that the next time. I agree with you. It's a priority to share that, and I will include it in the follow-up communications. So thank you for mentioning that.
One thing back to K's. Have I got that correct this time?
Pretty close. Case.
Case. When I was teaching in Canada, I was known as Mr. Spragu. That's how it is pronounced. So there's always some corrections and changes to be made.
Well, that just shows how diverse we all are, and through our fellowship and the lifelong friendships we form, we can get to know each other and all the unique things about each other, including how we pronounce our names. So I'm
one
going. Oh,
One
yes.
final, just in response to Rod
Okay.
about the names. When we lived in a place called Telegraph Creek, which is in the northwest corner of the province, due east of Juneau, in the local post office, I picked up a letter that was addressed to J. Vandersloot, telephone BC, and it came to me.
Okay, on that note, I do need to
Right.
close because I always promise we'll end on time. Thank you, everyone. I hope you got a lot out of it. I certainly did. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Doreen. Good night.
Wonderful, Doreen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us.